There's no better time to show how woods protect from extremes of weather than when it's snowing. I mean, there's a little bit of snow, it's kind of half raining, half snowing, sort of probably going to melt soon. But you see the ground is kind of covered in snow. And if we just look here, you see you've got this very, very thin strip of woodland here. It's really just two hedge banks next to each other, but it's what, 6 feet wide, but it's enough to just act like woodland does, just like hedgerows do. And you can see here snow outside and snow here. But if you come in here, it's a different story. Look, no snow. And here, just inside this tiny thin woods between these two hedge banks, there's not even a flake of snow in here. Now this is because the woods have this like insulating warm layer of compost of leaf mould on the bottom, which sort of keeps them warm. But also, as the snowflakes fall, they land on the branches, the remaining leaves, the under canopy, all the vegetation, and it's like the temperature is slightly warmer as well, so they're more likely to melt. So you don't get as much build-up of snow as you would if it was just grassland. It's just sort of melts much faster, and you end up with kind of no snow in the woods, and it does feel a lot warmer in here. From up on this hollow ash tree here, you can see there's ivy growing up the trees with all different layers, and then further down there's all this under canopy. There's loads of different layers just keeping the air in a bit to make it warm and insulated. It's not like warm and sort of centrally heated, but it's just a bit warmer than outside. So when it's cold like today, it's never as cold in the woods. They just keep it just a few degrees warmer. And of course the snow melts much faster. And then if you look again at the contrast, no snow in here, and if you just look through the hedge there, and you can see snow in that field, and if you look around the other side, you can see snow in that field as well. But if you look around where the edge of the woods are, there's a strip of field with no snow on it, which is under the trees. And you can see there that the snow has either not fallen or melted much more quickly. So trees really, really protect from snow build-up. If it's very, very cold and snowy and like there's loads of snow, you will get snow down here on the forest floor, but it's never going to be as much as outside, and it would melt before the outside snow melts. Here's like a woodland clearing, and you can just see that it's covered in snow. But just go over there a minute. You see the woods finishes about here, and then you've got a bit more without snow, and then the further away into the clearing you get, the more snow there is. So you can see like a clear contrast between the woods and outside. And if you now look over here back into this field again, you can see just white snow. So this really, really protects from snow build-up in the woods. These are quite a new woods, although they do look quite established. It's sort of regenerated woodland, naturally reforested from farmland. And there's a few patches where the canopy haven't quite covered over yet. And you can just see where these places are by little patches of snow. Like here, and there's a little bit there, and a little bit here, and there's a big gap in the canopy up there. But where it's fallen on all this vegetation, you see it's melted much faster than the snow on the grass, and it's like held in suspension with warmer air passing around it. It melts much faster, and you can just see it's just like mush on these bramble leaves here. How does a woodland protect from other kinds of adverse weather? So we've done sort of cold and snow, but what about like extremes of hot weather? So if it was the opposite of today and it was really, really like hot extreme heat wave, usually in hot weather the trees have got their leaves out in its summer, but sometimes you can get these very hot days in the spring before the trees come out properly, although that is unusual. But generally you do have those layers and layers of leaves all absorbing sunlight, giving shade. it sort of keeps the heat outside. And when it's a really hot day, it's much cooler always in the woods. You just sort of in shade and just sort of just sheltered from the hot sun. So it's yeah, never gets as hot either. But even in the spring, if you get a freakishly hot day, still all those branches and twigs and layers of under canopy and the odd evergreen ivy on the trees, everything like that still gives you shade and shelter from that hot sun. Always, if it's an unbearably hot sunny day, you can really get loads cooler, even just by sitting in the shade of a tree. But woods, it's just way cooler and a more stable climate. Wind as well, if it's windy, it's a little bit windy today, and it's quite a cold, biting, icy wind. And you can't really feel it in here, it's just the edge of it's taken off by the trees. When all the leaves are gone, more wind does make its way into the forest, but it's never as much as outside, particularly when you have these nice big hedge banks around the edge of it, just to give that little bit of extra shelter. It just sort of makes it sort of much less extreme. But if it's a gale, then not a good idea to walk in the woods, because you do have kind of like falling branches and falling trees and things. But if it's just a kind of biting wind day, moderate wind, then you won't really get much wind in the woods. It's just sort of all absorbed by all of the branches, all the leaves, everything. So it's always kind of less. Today it doesn't really know whether it's going to rain or snow. It sort of turns back from one to the other every so often. So it's quite a mixed day today. There's quite a bit of hail on off as well today, and trees are really good for sheltering against hailstorms like that. They don't usually last long, hailstorms, usually a minute or two, and they do kind of bounce up and break off on the branches, so it does protect from hail as well. And of course rain. I mean, today it's doing all of them: rain, sleet, snow, hail. But rain generally sort of falls on the trees, on the upper levels. It's got to go through all the under canopy and everything. On its journey down, those raindrops get smashed up into kind of fine mist, and a lot of it just runs down the trunks and the branches, and a great much of it is then soaked up straight away in all this like rich, nutritious leaf mould on the forest floor. So you don't get the full effect, the lashing wind, the rain, as you would if you were outside. And that's very good, you know. So you've got like a kind of a more of a mist and dripping rather than sort of heavy kind of rain, and that really works well. So you've got this whole kind of area inside the forest canopy, which is like a protected bubble, just a few degrees more constant than outside. The fluctuations of grassland are much higher, and in the forest you're just sort of protected from all these extremes. And that's very nice. If you don't want it to be too hot, too cold, too windy, too wet, too much hail this like come into the woods, and you're protected. But the only one not to come into the woods for is really strong winds and gales, because then you've got kind of lumps of wood and trees falling down all around you, and it's pretty scary. And now it's snowing again, sort of quite big snowflakes making their way down to the forest floor, but sort of melting as soon as they get there, whereas they're still building up in the field there. So there you go, forest protect from the extremes of weather. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Whoa! And if you press the little me, which is down there somewhere, you can see all my other videos. And if you have any questions, please do ask, and I shall see you next time.